Obsession. This would be the spoiler review. I have a review over on soundedbettermyhead.com. It tiny bit maybe gets in the spoiler territory if you don't know anything about this movie. I try to avoid it, but you got to talk about the plot, and so I try to be vague when I could. But so either way, you might be getting some spoilers if you watch this review or read the other one. I ended up giving this movie a 3 out of 5. This thing wasn't even on my radar. I didn't know it existed. It came out. It was made decent money, and then next week it made even better money and then more money. And this thing's been making a killing at the box office. And I finally decided I might as well go check it out because it seemed to be everybody was talking about it. So I'm getting into it fairly late. It's a pretty basic concept. I think that's one of the reasons I wasn't rushing out to see it when it did come out. It's not a love potion, but it's basically the love potion gone wrong thing. It's been done quite a few times. Not a lot of major things. There's a classic Rick and Morty episode. There's I remember Tales from the Crypt that was pretty memorable because I just said I remembered it. So that proves it's memorable. And a few other odds and ends. I'm not gonna go on and on, but it's the same thing where, especially when you get into the horror genre, you can either go with comedy in this situation, or you can make it scary, or a little bit of both. And obviously they lean more towards scary here, but there's a little light comedy, and all the wrong that could happen with not just a wish gone wrong, but a love wish gone wrong. But anyways, I think he takes a unique approach with it. He puts kind of a supernatural element, and I think it works that there's a lot of unexplained stuff where you're like, what the hell just happened? And they don't explain it. I don't want to know a lot of this stuff. If they tell you what's happening, I think it ruins it. So any potential sequels, I think you got to be careful because you don't want to ruin it. Because I think the mystery is what really helps sell it. Like a good example is there's a call line you can call if you got a problem with your wish, and there's this sounds like just some kid, or some guy that's barely interested in what's going on, doing like a customer service thing, but like Nikki's there, like it's like is it her soul there? Is it hell? Like it's intriguing, but I'm glad it wasn't defined more than that. Just it's kind of like whatever you make up in your head that works for you, or what the wish actually does. Like, is she a different person? Is she a demon? Like, what is she? I'm glad it wasn't explained. Some of it does almost need some explanation. Like, I don't know what world someone would think, I love this person so much that I think they'll like it if I take their dead cat and cook it and make a sandwich out of it so they could be a food critic about it. Like, that doesn't make any sense whatsoever in like most realities. So I don't know, is it, like I said, is it a demon that's controlling? Like, that part, it was so out there, you almost need a little bit better of explanation. Well, at least I did. The movie itself, it starts off kind of painfully slow. Like, knowing it's basically a horror movie and knowing that it's so popular, I'm like, it's gonna get good. The first maybe 15 minutes or so, I'm like, I am just not into this. Like, if I was flipping through, throwing Netflix, and I saw this, started watching it, I'm like, yeah, this is boring, and I might have turned it off. Once it gets going, it gets going, and I think there's a point going into the third act where it feels like, all right, we need to set this into high gear, because it's not quite a horror movie. There's a little bit of a horror movie element, but it hasn't gone over the top. It's not like, okay, shit just has to hit the fan, and it wasn't there yet, and it felt like it should have been there. And then it does finally take it that final stretch. I think the ending was good, but it could have been a little bit stronger. From what I read, the original ending was that Bear was going to die, and then Nikki was going to die, kill herself, and that was going to be like the end. I thought what they were going to go was like a kind of a dark, kind of satirical ending where she was going to wish that he couldn't die. And since the wish only ends when he dies, if he lives forever, then he's stuck with her forever, and this wish forever. And I think that would have been kind of a you got what you deserve kind of a thing for him at that point. At that point, he's not really, he's not a bad guy, but he's not the good guy. Matter of fact, I'll get into that now. Like as far as the actors and the characters go, um, obviously Michael Johnson is the lead, and he has to do a balance of. He's kind of a, I don't know. This is a guy lacking a lot of confidence, and he's got a girl that he's got a crush on. He's kind of relatable to a degree, and he gets in over his head. Like he has no clue this wish is going to work. It's like blowing out a birthday candle and expecting it to work as an adult, knowing that you've blown out like a million candles and it's never really worked. So he had no clue this wish was going to work. He's just like whatever, and and he didn't believe for the longest time. He's like, okay, I'm not even sure this is really a wish. So you're still in his corner. He's like, as a moviegoer, you kind of know something's shady, but following his character, like okay, can't judge him too harshly. But there's a point where like he knows, and he's like not doing it enough to get out of this or correct the situation, and that's where you kind of start. Okay, dude, you probably should die to save your friend, or however you want to describe this. But again, he does a good job of being likable enough that even when shit's going bad, you kind of want to see him, persevere, but until a point where, I think it gets past the point of no return. I don't know if I'm going to say her name right here, but I think it's Indy Navarrete. I saw her first in the Superman and Lois TV show where she was really good. She's really good in this movie. She has even a tougher acting job because she's got to be scary and creepy and like off-putting, but the whole time you got to know that she's a victim. Like underneath all this, you got to know that this girl's trapped in this wish, and like she occasionally does get to come out and freak out. And other than that, when she's crazy Nikki or freaky Nikki, she just randomly starts crying or just screams and just acts like a maniac, and then she's all smiles, and then she's crazy, creepy facial animations. So she does a really good job of making you want to get like a million miles away from her, but still feeling, sympathy. Like that it's not her; she's being controlled by this mysterious force. So I think she does a really good job at that. As far as the other two leads, they're fine in their roles. Just by the nature of the movie, I'm like, what? Both, if not, maybe one of them is probably going to get killed. This thing's going to ramp up at some point. Being a horror movie, I could see one of these guys biting the bullet, especially when you know that Sarah has a crush on Bear. Or like, yeah, that's, even if it's not a crush, a jealousy aspect's probably going to come in, and it's not going to work out too well. I've seen photos from the movie, like still photos for advertising, and there's people covered in blood. The two main characters. So like, all right, something's not going to go down too well here for somebody. So it's hard to get too attached to these two other characters because, like, they're probably going to bite it at some point in the movie. The scores, nothing unique. It feels like it's like a stock kind of older horror movie score, but it does its job. It makes you feel really unsettled. Really ramps up this tension, and it's like it knows what it's supposed to. It does what it's supposed to do. It's not like reinventing the wheel, but it's used perfectly to like just ramp that tension up and freak you out, and then cut to the next scene. Just drops it off, and then you cut to the next scene. There's some pretty cool visuals in there, again, where you're just freaky. A lot of it's just Nikki standing there smiling for like 5 minutes straight, or her hiding in the corner, or the way that they light her face where it's either really dark, or you could just see a little light in her eye that's like, is that real light, or is there something else behind her eyes? And I don't think there's a ton else to say about the movie, so I might as well go ahead and wrap this up. Like I said, I have a fairly spoiler-free version of this review up, so if you want to read that, in addition to this, go for it. But I also have other movie reviews and TV show reviews and a comic strip that I do, and that's all at soundedbetterinmyhead.com. So if you want to check that stuff out, that's awesome. And other than that, thanks for watching.